freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your round 3 recap for this week's Zurich Classic. My teammate for tonight is Greg DuCharme. Greg, hello to you.
Hey, what's going on, Rick? Fun little teammate event here. I like the partner golf. It adds a really nice element to it. It's a fun watch.
What could you and I shoot in the best ball format? Do you think that we could break? Oh boy,
Par?
I'm going to need a lot of help.
We could break par.
You think?
Yeah, I think so. Depending on what golf course.
Well, that's for sure. Maybe a mini golf course we could definitely break par. Oh boy. Okay, so let's set the stage here. We've got a lot going on. So Saturday we were back to best ball. So the scores were very, very low. What I like about this, Greg, is we kind of learned, very early in the day how the golf course is playing. TPC Louisiana, I think we predicted a little bit more wind on Saturday. Didn't necessarily happen. So we got, the guys who go out early, like a Patton Kizzire and a Brendan Todd, they just go out and kind of guide what's going to happen. They shot 64 for the second time this week, and it kind of sets the stage for what the rest of the day is going to come by.
Yeah, it's a really good point. You get an understanding. Hey, these guys may not be playing the best in the field. They're not playing as well together as the leaders, yet those kind of scores are still out there. And what I find so interesting is while 64 is a great round, you look at what everybody shot ahead of them, and they all go out and beat that score, which is just, it's incredible how low they go. I was watching, who was it earlier in the day it's the Fitzpatricks, right? They go out and post a great number. They get in at 21 under, and there's a lot of teams, also my one and done pick, Burns and Horschel, get themselves up there in the top 2 on the leaderboard early. But you're looking at, and the leaders are through 5 holes, right? And you're saying, okay, they're going to get run past, but by how much? I mean, in the Fitzpatrick's case, 21 under, that's a nice number. That's a really nice number. Can that hold up? And next thing you know, it doesn't hold up because they just keep on making birdies, which is fun to watch.
Yeah, there's a lot of tournaments on tour where having holes in hand is very valuable. Having holes in hand here is essential. It is. I mean, you just never want to stop playing. There's especially in this one, maybe tomorrow, maybe an alternate shot, right? You're thinking, I guess 18's a 5, but you're thinking, okay, protect if you get out to 5 under through 6, you could protect that a little bit. In best ball, you got to just keep going.
Absolutely. You have to, and both players have to go out and play a really nice round of golf, or at least a really nice portion of the round of golf. And as we look through some of these leaders here tonight, you'll see there's, for the most part, a lot of balance in the teams, and both players are contributing. And you're not necessarily seeing one guy go out and shoot a 62, but you're seeing both guys go out and shoot 5 under. And you pair it together, and all of a sudden you get 62s all over the place, which is cool. So, that adds a little bit of an element of luck in this format to me. And it's skill, it's half skill, but the total score you shoot has an element of luck because, well, what holes are your partners going to birdie? And are they going to be the same holes? Do the same holes set up well for you? Do you play the same holes well, or are you helping each other out when the other struggles?
Well, let's talk about your one and done selection. It's Billy Horschel, it's Sam Burns. It's moving day on the PGA Tour, and they moved up 10 spots to T10. They are in at 20 under with 18 holes to go. And you talked about this. I like looking at, who contributed what. It's a little hard to tell just looking at the scorecard sometimes, but I can tell you Sam Burns made 6 birdies. Billy Horschel made 3, but you don't know how many of these, par saves that Horschel contributed to were, that was going to be the best score, or he was just the first one in. It's kind of weird when you're just looking at the box score. Right.
Box score has Billy contributing to 3 holes on the front 9 with 1 birdie and 6 holes on the back 9. So right, that's nine of the holes.
There you go.
Now, would Sam Burns have made par on some of those other ones? Quite possibly. But ultimately, it's still, even though Sam Burns makes 6 birdies and you need that, it's still a pretty balanced contribution. And it's similar to what they did in round one. In round one, I think they were, Billy made 5 birdies and it was 3 birdies for Sam Burns. So all in all, I think this team as a duo is one of the strongest duos in this field. Unfortunately, they find themselves down in tied for 10th. We'll see how challenging that is to make up ground, but they're 6 shots back.
The Fitzpatricks might be ruining that Friday 71 because they've got a pair of 62s in best ball. They are 21 under par. They are 5 shots off the lead. Alex filled it up today. I mean, he made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 birdies, including a very essential one on 18. They needed it, right? I mean, 21 under, 5 shots back, they're not going to win. But if they had any chance in that moment, it was such a big moment because of what you described. Get to 21 and hope the wind starts kicking on these guys. Yeah,
and look, is that out of the equation? It's probably too far back. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but it might not be. They're right on the borderline. They still may be in the mix in this tournament, but Alex has been really impressive. He didn't just make 6 birdies today, but Rick, he made 5 birdies in round one too. Mm-hmm. So the guy has been a more than valuable partner for his brother Matt, and this is one of the things in this event that I'm not sure how I feel about when you get some stars inviting their siblings or somebody that's close to them that otherwise probably wouldn't get a start in a PGA Tour event. I'm not always sure how I feel about that, but watching Alex Fitzpatrick play this week, he's definitely proved to be a valid competitor in this tournament, which is fun to watch. He's stepped up big time.
What is the requirement? I mean, he like Matt Fitzpatrick couldn't pick me. I have to have status somewhere, or I have to be officially a professional golfer. Like, what is the actual requirement?
I don't know exactly. But you're probably right. You probably have to have status on a official world golf ranking tour. Because I remember Brooks bringing Chase.
Yeah.
Koepka. And that kind of drew a little bit of controversy, but at the same time, it's a difficult thing for the PGA Tour to be really strict on, because when you get somebody like Matt Fitzpatrick to play, that's a great thing. And you want to provide an element of attraction, but at the same time, you don't want it to become a pro-am. So you're kind of walking a tightrope with that, where, this isn't a celebrity event. You're not going to bring, your sponsors with you. You got to bring a professional golfer. But you don't want to be too strict and make it, limit the fun for somebody who may play, who may draw crowds and attention.
Maybe one of the more disappointing results of the day came from our defending champions, Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay, a 6 under 66, which Greg dropped them back 6 spots on the leaderboard. They are 6 off the pace. They are in a tie for 10th, and they are dangerously close to flipping the script this week, where if they go out and have another great alternate shot round on Sunday, their 2 alt shot rounds could be better than their 2 best ball rounds.
It's hard to explain, unimaginable. I know, looking at their records, not just in this event, but as Ryder Cup and President's Cup teammates, they play great in the alternate shot format. They've never been beaten in that format before. And they have in this format, in the 4-ball format. But the amazing thing to me, looking at this, aside from just the scores, is they were bogey free in round 2. They've made 3 bogeys this week, all in better ball.
Yeah,
which is it's just 4 bogeys. I'm sorry, excuse me. They made 3 bogeys in round 1. They were over par. They were 1 over par through 4 holes in this tournament.
I remember flipping it on and I was like, oh my God, are they going to miss the cut?
Yeah. And then you're thinking after yesterday, oh, they're going to win.
They're going to win.
Now you're like, oh, they're probably too far back.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to have to go and replicate what they did in round 2. And as good as they are an alternate shot, I'm not sure that's going to happen again. And even if it does, I'm not sure it's enough.
Again, looking at the box score, it's hard to do, right? But I mean, Patrick Cantlay essentially was even par.
Non-contributor.
Yeah,
we made one birdie.
He made a birdie on the second hole.
That's it.
That was it.
I mean, Xander Schauffele played a fine round of golf. He they shot 66. By the way, they were the only team in the top 20 to shoot 66. Everybody else was 65 or better in the top 20. And so then you look at, inside the top 20. I think there was this one of the teams in tied 20. Yeah, Højgaard and Olsen shot 66. They are in tied 20th. But anyway, Xander Schauffele probably shot 4 or 5 under on his own ball, estimated, which is a fine round of golf. But it's nice if you can get a couple of circles from your partner, and they're really only two birdies away from being totally fine. They go shoot 64, they're right there with everybody else. And those 2 birdies are, in my opinion, just missing off of Patrick Cantlay's card. If he puts 2 more circles on the card on holes that they need it, well, all of a sudden they shoot 64 today, and they're sitting at 22 under in a tied for 6th. And now that 26 under lead is far more in touch. It would make a huge difference.
Let's climb up the leaderboard a little bit here. Currently sitting solo second, thanks to a second 62 of the week, are Keith Mitchell and Sungjae Im. They are my one and done selection for this week, Greg. So fingers crossed they can continue to rock and roll. This is a partnership that is not only blossoming on the golf course, but off the golf course. They are becoming fast friends. And Sungjae Im, Keith Mitchell spoke about it after his round with Amanda Renner, just took Keith Mitchell, threw him on his back, and made 6 birdies in his first 8 holes, and then gave Keith some time to get everything back in order.
Yeah, and Keith did. But Sungjae is just a machine. I mean, you look at this leaderboard, maybe aside from Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay, I think Sungjae Im is playing better than anybody else in this field. He has been a machine of late, and he has been a machine in this event, and he seems to thrive off of this kind of competition. You remember at the both President's Cups he played in, how popular he was. And it's been cool this week to see him kind of grow in that off the course environment. Looks like he's getting a little more comfortable, a little more familiar with the English language, which is certainly a challenge.
Which, by the way, Greg, was that the first ever interview we've gotten from Sungjae Im without a translator?
It's the first I've ever seen.
I agree.
And he did great.
He was awesome.
Now, I mean, we've heard before that they, like Hideki Matsuyama, for example, is much more comfortable with the English language than he leads on. But it makes him really nervous, and it's a challenging thing. So I think there are some other cultural aspects to it as well. But this is the first time I've ever heard Sungjae open and honest, and he did great. I mean, it didn't sound like his first ever English interview.
The other thing is, and my understanding about Sungjae, and in my experience as well, he understands everything you're saying. It just takes him. I mean, his caddy speaks to him in English. He understands everything that is happening in English. It just takes him a little bit longer to formulate a response in English, and he doesn't always want to do that with a mic in front of him and stuff like that. But yeah, it was great.
I mean, I'll tell you this: his English is far better than my Korean, so I give him all the credit and respect in the world for that. But even more deserving of the respect is his play, because he's just been an absolute robot, which is so fun to watch. And I guess it's kind of expected. This may be more closer to a ceiling round for Sungjae. But he's been just playing beautiful golf. And then he gets the contribution from Keith, right? Who's cheering along, but he adds those 3 birdies. And that seems to be the number to me when I look through all these box scores. The teams that play well, if it's lopsided at all, it's 3 birdies for the weak guy.
Right.
And when you add that's a huge 65 or 64 to 62 is a huge difference in this thing. And so Keith, that very valuable aspect of this team too.
Yeah, and all 3 of those birdies coming on the second 9 on holes that Sungjae was not making birdie on. So just a perfectly executed round from these 2. But despite that, Greg, that 62 was matched by the guys who had the 36-hole lead. There they are, Wyndham Clark and Beau Hossler. This is actually the one and done selection of both Patrick and KP. So we've got a little bit of dodging to do here. But, we have been very much talking about how good Wyndham Clark has been all year long, Greg. I mean, the improvement that we have seen from him, and to get partnered up with Beau, who is another great, very likable guy, easy to play with. They're rocking and rolling. But the big thing hanging over all of this, they're going to try to do something as a team tomorrow that they have never been able to do individually. They're going to try to win on the PGA Tour,
which is what a cool experience, right? And I know that they're going to be feeling it. So this is one of the things that I remember learning in this event, talking to some of the players a couple of years ago. As a matter of fact, it was Charles Schwartzel and Louis Oosthuizen. When they lost I think it was in a playoff, and Louis hit it well right, and Charles was struggling with his game up until that point, and kind of went on a really nice run after that. And Charles told us that, these moments, while it does feel different because it's a partner event, in essence, you get that it's a little less than, but when you're on the field of competition, you're still feeling all the same feelings. You're testing your game in the same level, and you want to make sure that, you want to see and engage how it stands up. And so when you get into the heat of battle, it's still a test of how your nerves hold up. You do have a little bit of a crutch. You can have a little bit of a crutch, but nobody wants to lean on their partner. So this will be a really cool experience for both of them. I love the transformation of Wyndham Clark's game this year. I think it's a kind of a win away from being one of the cooler stories of the year. His results just haven't quite matched what we've seen in the stats. And this week could be a week that leads to more for him individually as well.
He's also played some of his best golf in the elevated events, which, there's a lot of other guys playing great golf in those events as well. Let's look at this graphic here, because Wyndham Clark and Beau Hossler are not the only 2 in the mix going for their first career PGA Tour win. When you start scrolling through the top 10 and guys that are within a handful of shots, we've got Clark and Hossler. You've got Vincent Norman and Matty Schwab. Both of those guys are outside like the top 130 in FedEx Cup standings before the week started. Matt Neesmith trying to rekindle his magic with Taylor Moore. They're only 3 shots off the lead. Both Nick Hardy and Davis Riley looking for their first career PGA Tour wins. Brandon Matthews is playing with Sean O'Hare. And then obviously the big one, they might be too far back, Greg, Alex Fitzpatrick, who I say it's the big one because there are so few opportunities for him to have 4 good days and immediately become a PGA Tour member. He doesn't have status. He doesn't have status on the Korn Ferry. He doesn't have status. I don't think he has status anywhere. He's been playing on the Challenge Tour. This is, one more amazing day away, maybe get a little help from immediately becoming a member.
Yeah, for the next 2 years.
Which probably moves up his career trajectory by 2 years.
Yes.
I think he'll eventually become, he is good enough to be, he will be on the PGA Tour, but this would immediately move it up.
Yeah, he's definitely showed this week that he has the game for it.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't gotten a great look at what he's done over, a long-term season like you'll face on the PGA Tour. So it's just, it's hard to know. But all of a sudden you get out there and you got 2 years to hone your skills, and you don't have to go through the stress of, well, what does a miscut mean? You don't have to worry about reshuffles. You don't have to worry about, you got designated events that you can worry about. But ultimately you don't have to. You go play in some non-designated events, register a couple of high finishes, learn the ropes of what it's like to travel around on tour. All those things that all the rookies talk about in this relatively low pressure situation, because you've jumped onto the tour through a win. So it's like you have more job security than anybody else who gets on the PGA Tour. It doesn't happen this way. This would be an incredible story. If guys get on the PGA Tour through winning, it's usually like a Tom Kim, like a Jordan Spieth, like somebody that has been a story before they win, and you know that they're a star, and then they just lock up their card, but they never worry about it again for the rest of their career. So this would be very unique, and I think it would really be a game changer, not just because of the events that he plays in, but because of the situation that he gets his PGA Tour start in.
Okay, well, we'll see if they have a realistic chance to pull it off, and we'll look at the rest of the odds board. But first, we are going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
A Paramount Plus subscription is now included with your Walmart Plus membership.
Tell the world what happens when they cross me.
For no additional cost, members get a mountain of entertainment.
Are you accusing me of something?
This is great!
Sign up for a Walmart Plus membership and watch all of this and more with your Paramount Plus subscription.
I'm gonna trust you on this.
And we're back. We'll not only be here with you after the round, but you can watch final round coverage of the Zurich Classic on Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern time. It'll run till 6 p.m. Okay. The betting favorites. Well, the odds makers have essentially turned this into a little bit of a two-horse race here, Greg. Wyndham Clark and Beau Hossler, Sungjae and Keith Mitchell, very much I don't want to call them co-favorites. Clark and Hossler are getting the nod at plus 130, Sungjae and Mitchell at plus 175, but they are the two teams that Vegas believes is most likely to pull this off.
Which does make sense. But I look at it more like a 5-horse race. I think
really a 10-horse race then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got a horse and a jockey, right? It's a duo.
I think then it's a 15-horse race because they also got caddies.
Well, that would make it a 20-horse race.
Oh, a 20-horse race, yeah.
Yeah, I guess we have a full Kentucky Derby going on here. Anyway, I think anybody that's at 23 or better is legitimately in the mix. Let
me read those off real quick. So that's Clark and Hossler at 26. It's Mitchell and Sungjae at 25. Vincent, Norman, and Schwab at 23. Neesmith and Moore at 23. Hardy and Riley at 23.
Yes, and they all shot 67 or better in their alternate shot day in round 2, foursomes day. So they've proven that they can handle that. And again, this is the thing when I go back to the Fitzpatricks. When you go back to a Schauffele Cantlay or a Burns Horschel, while they have shown over their careers that they can perform really well in this format, I think it's very likely that somebody in that top 5 goes out and shoots another 67 or 66. And so if they go shoot, let's just say 5 under, and you're 3 to 6 shots back, well, you got to go shoot 62. Right, you got to go shoot 62 or 63 for a playoff in alternate shot, and I'm not sure that Cantlay and Schauffele can match that round, but I think it's going to be really hard to dodge all of these teams. From shooting 5 under. They've all done it. 5 under is very much out there, and I'm not sure 11 under is. I'm not sure 10 under is, and 9 under is doubtful. So I think that makes it hard for the chasers because these guys are confident. They're playing with each other. And where, let's say Vincent Norman and Matthias Schwab, if I may have messed his name up there, but you know who I'm talking about. They may be feeling a little nervous if this were an individual event. Beau, Hossler, and Wyndham Clark may be feeling a little nervous in an individual event. But I have a feeling that at least some of these less experienced teams are going to rally off of one another and put up a really good number and improve their play.
I think it'd be really cool if Wyndham Clark and Beau Hossler won, because that is, I think it would be a great payoff for a couple guys who are having a great year and are much deserving of wins. I think Keith Mitchell and Sungjae will get it done.
I have the same feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Now, really, because I think they are playing a role. They're playing a game that really works together. Now, in this alternate shot format, you're going to have to lean on your partner a little bit more. But Keith Mitchell's reliable. I mean, he's a phenomenal driver of the ball. Mm-hmm. Phenomenal. His iron play has improved. His short game has really improved. Keith Mitchell is a really solid, well-rounded player. And in that top 5, this is the best team without question. Without question. They're both of those two guys. They're probably number 1 and number 2 of the 10 players that are in the top 5, leaving caddies out of it.
How dare you? Okay. Well, in about 24 hours, we will know who our Zurich Classic champions are, and we'll be back to discuss everything that happened on Sunday. But for now, big thanks to producer Josh, does all the hard work behind the scenes. Greg DuCharme, available on Twitter at TheRealGFD, and you can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.